Welcome to the Ask for Football Army Football Show. The Army Football Show is an insider's guide for cadets, old grads, and college football fans to follow the Army team throughout their season as they seek to beat Navy and claim the Commander-in-Chief's trophy. Ask for Football is brought to you by our sponsor, Jocelyn Bradley Real Estate. Whether you're buying, selling, or just exploring your options, Jocelyn Bradley is the expert you can trust to navigate the real estate market with ease. Visit jocelynbradley.com to learn more. And let's get started at the Ask for Football Army Football Show.
Hello and welcome, Army fans. 5 wins, gentlemen. 5 wins. How are we feeling?
I'm feeling good, man. I was super nervous about this game. Yeah, we got excellent seats. Brian Brennan from the Firstie Club offered us his dad's loge seats. So Terry and I were up in the loge, like drinking the beer and hanging out with the hoity-toity people right on the 40-yard line. Had an excellent view, but let me tell you, I was a ball of nervous energy the whole game. Super happy with the win, but man, it took me a while to come down afterwards.
Rob, how about you?
Yeah, so good contest. You know, I think I would have liked to see the scoring be a little bit more, but I think all things considered, you know, winning the middle 8 is what's most important, and I think that's what happened. So good game, good performance, a lot to talk about here. And
yeah, all right. Well, we got you heard from Dan in Coast, Connecticut. Rob is on the wonderful island of Hawaii, and we're bringing hopefully a guest in James Pagano to you today to talk about some exciting Army fan news. If you are an Army fan, this won't be news to you, but Rob, why don't you take us through our wonderful sponsor?
You know, we have a sponsor here. Her name is Jocelyn Bradley, and she is the realtor for you. If you're PCSing to Fort Bragg, Jocelyn can help you out. She is a member of the Long Gray Line for the class of 2010, where she commissioned and served as an Army logistics officer, where she honed her passion for making an impact in people's lives. Now, as a dedicated realtor, she brings you the same commitment and helping you find your dream home. Jocelyn provides exceptional personalized service to ensure a seamless home buying experience that's tailored to your needs. Beyond Fort Bragg, Jocelyn has an extended network of trusted veteran realtors that span across the country, and they are ready to support you wherever your PCS takes you. Whether you're relocating locally or across the nation, Jocelyn's recommendations come at no cost, and she can connect you with a professional of integrity in any market. As a proud supporter of Ask for Football this season, Jocelyn is the realtor you can trust to guide you into your new home. Reach out to her today and let her make your next move effortless. Thanks.
All right, gents, let's get into it. Army beats Temple 14-13 in a game they were favored by a touchdown, and that line came out, and it immediately made me nervous. At no point did I think – now, to be fair, and we're going to talk about this, in effect, Army won this game by 8 points, so they should have covered had they not done the smart thing and sat on the ball on the 2-yard line. But a 7-point spread against a far improved Temple team who is trying to do what Army is trying to do and did it well against Navy did not immediately instill confidence, if I'm being perfectly honest. Both the offense and the defense had struggle points in the game. They also came through in big moments. We'll get into that. On defense, the team struggled in the first half with some outside zone, and then the rest of the game, they were just throwing underneath us, dicing us up with their tight ends and on some underneath routes with their receivers. We'll get into that. I want to talk about that too, some of the soft coverage that Army plays, because I know it was quite the discussion in the Firstie Club Discord chat this weekend. All right, so let's get into it. First half, Army goes into the locker room down 10-7. It seemed disappointing at the time because they had been up 7-3 earlier in the game. But if you're playing a ball control game and Temple gets the ball first in the game and you buy yourself against a good team, a 3-point deficit in a ball control game where you're getting the ball out of the half, you're not going to pass that up. That's about where you'd expect to be. Again, it felt a little disappointing because Temple, Army did have a lead in this first half, but they go in, having played this ball control, they still ended up winning time of possession in the first half. So it seemed like it was going fairly well, but a little nerve wracking considering that they did have that first first half lead. They scored one touchdown on a Jake Rendina run. And then they had Temple ended up having one touchdown and 2 field goal attempts, one of which was a miss. In the second half, Army comes out. They start with an 8-minute drive. I want to talk a little bit more about later. 8.5-minute drive, touchdown drive to go up 14-10. And then after that, it was all on Army's defense. They did a really good job at making red zone stops. Temple only got 2 drives the entire second half. We'll get into that a little bit. And Army's defense, made it work on that one drive. There's a pivotal play, which we'll get into in the awards section, where they went for it on 4th and 1 and broke really their only big play of the game. Army's defense played really well on 3rd down. It didn't always feel like it because they, especially in the second half, they were kind of getting gashed underneath. Temple went just 2 of 8 and converted both of their 4th down tries, which gives you an effective rate of 50%, right? 4 of the 8 third downs that Temple faced ended up in a 1st down. 3 times they had to settle for a field goal. Twice they had to settle for a field goal.
3 times they just missed one.
They missed one, right? Twice in the red zone they had to settle for a field goal. 1 field goal just outside the red zone. So 3 red zone attempts for Temple. 2 of them end up in a field goal. That's a win for the defense, right? That is 13 out of 21 total points allowed. And that's the difference in the game, right? Army scores, and again, we'll get into this, effectively 21 points in this game. Temple had the chance to score 21 points in this game, and they only get 13. That's the difference. Let's start with takes on the game. Rob, you're up.
Yeah, so I made a comment about it earlier today, but the thing that I've noticed is when a team has a pretty heavy RPO run, Army kind of struggles with them until they make adjustments. And what happens is, they get the look of a pass, linebackers start dropping into coverage, quarterback hands it off to the running back, and the running back has the opportunity to create a lane for him to cut back into. So that's one of the things that, it's been up and down all season. There have been games where they've stopped it fairly well, and then there's been games that it's been pretty open. But, the return of Cody Harris-Miller has started to help out the defensive front seven significantly. Like you didn't realize how good of a player he was until he came back, and he's been missed throughout the course of the season. But linebackers look good. The secondary is always going to be kind of holding your breath when they drop back and start running, those short passes across the middle, whether they be the slants or to the tight ends. But all in all, I think, on the defensive side, the front seven got better as the game went on. And, on the offensive side, Army did what they were supposed to do. Unfortunately, they got points scored on them, but they definitely won the middle 8, and I think that's one of the statistics that college football is starting to analyze now is the last 4 minutes of the first half and the first 4 minutes of the second.
I feel like they lost the middle 8 in this game. They gave up a field goal and then they didn't score.
Correct. But from the time of possession point of it, they did a little bit better on the second half. So being able to control as deep as they did into the third quarter, it really kind of put Temple on their heels. So they had to make adjustments based off of that.
So let's get into that a little bit, because I think that's an interesting point, and then we'll move on to the next host takes. I think that the big inflection point in the game, and spoiler, this is going to be my play of the game, right? 4th and 1. And everyone thinks they're going to run the ball, and they had a 4th and 2 late in the first half. That I had sort of an issue with how they handled that. I think they rushed it, and I think they ran the play with too much time on the clock, which led to a Temple score before the half. You come out of the half. Your defense, your defense has played effectively 15 minutes in the first half. So you've barely won the time of possession game in the first half, but now you get the ball first. You're 4 minutes into this drive and you're 4th and 1 in your own territory. And Cody Worley dials up a tight end peel route on 4th and 1. I can't remember the last time Army threw on 4th and 1. I mean, maybe there was like an end of the game scenario where they threw on 4th and 1. Because they needed yards and they didn't care about, the down was, down and time was both a problem. But on your own side of the field, not up against the clock. I can't ever remember in the Jeff Monken era Army passing on 4th and 1. So caught everyone off guard. That had to be a really good throw, and I think it was Hellam's best throw of the year. And that takes a 4-minute drive and turns it into an 8.5-minute drive. So your well-rested defense is now showing up with your defense is now showing up onto the field in the second half. The first snap that they take in the second half is now with like 21 minutes left in the game instead of with 26 minutes left in the game. That's a huge difference. You guys have any thoughts on that?
I mean, I agree. It was a great play. I didn't really get into the time of possession thought process until late in the game. Like, I was just in the moment. I was just, hey, let's get this conversion. They've been pretty, lacked explosive plays. Hey, here's an explosive play. It makes a huge difference because as we saw in this game, they were struggling to overcome mistakes. And late they didn't make those mistakes. But in the first half, we saw a decent amount of mistakes that killed drives. So, I liked it, but maybe for a different reason.
Yeah, just to give you an idea of the drastic difference in what Temple and Army's defenses had to do in the second half. Army's defense played 14 snaps in the entire second half. Yeah, Temple's defense played 39 snaps in the second half. That tells you all you need to know, and that's one of the major reasons why Army won this game. Dan, do you have some more thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, in the moment, I was not super excited about the way the offense played in this game. I'll just tell you that straight up. Like, I walked out of the stadium kind of like, damn, they really struggled to move the ball in that game. But I rewatched the game yesterday, and I got a better appreciation for how hard it is to run the ball 16 straight times, basically against a stack box in 4-minute offense for 10 minutes of game time. Like, that is actually insane to run up, mostly up the middle against that stacked box and keep the chains moving. Teams just don't do that. Like, that is an insanely difficult thing to do. And I guess it makes sense because Temple had a really good passing defense and really good secondary in general, but they've struggled against the run because they're, the interior of their defensive line and their linebackers are like maybe not the best. So they were stringing out sweep plays and pitch plays. They were keying on Hellam's inside. This left the fullbacks to really do a lot of that heavy lifting. And Jake Radina with the game of his life. O-line would get 2 to 3 yards of push, and then he would hit it and get 2 or 3 more. And it was super impressive. So, if they'd had Bartosh, I think they might have broken one because they had a couple of bangers in there and they needed a guy with a little bit more elusiveness and speed. But you know what? It worked, and it was rad. So I'll take it.
And I'll say Temple has done a good job has not done a great job of stopping the run this year. But what they have done is they've targeted individual rushers fairly well.
Yeah,
take the top rusher on a team and eliminate him. And Noah Short held the 6 carries, 26 yards. I mean, not a bad day for Noah Short, but he's taken a lot of attention away. This was the most consistent I think we've seen Army's offense all year. And it seems weird to say that in a game that they scored 14 points in. But remember, one of those drives is a 10-minute drive that ends on the 2-yard line to end the game. So that takes away some points. And they never had a rush of longer than, I believe it was 12 yards the entire game, right? Yeah. So they're just consistently getting their scheduled yards every play and continuing to move the chains. That's a really good sign of growth for this team that started off the season pretty shaky in terms of offensive rushing consistency. So that's my 2 cents. James, do you have any takes on the game?
I think my biggest takeaway is I think they've really just cleaned up the giveaways. I think that's what hurt them most in the beginning of the year. I think that's the biggest improvement, definitely. I think even going back to the Tulane game, they're being really smart with the ball. They're not fumbling it. That North Texas game, they had 2 fumbles that just can't happen.
So I got a fun stat for you guys. Fun little trivia. When was the last time Army turned the ball over?
I know it was like 290 something carries ago.
ECU game?
Charlotte. There was a Hayden Reed fumble in the Charlotte game. Oh. They've gone 3 games now without fumbling or without turning the ball over. It's tied for the 3rd longest streak of the Jeff Monken era. One more would tied second. Last year they had a stretch of 6 games with no turnovers. So 3 seems like okay, that's fine. Like that's pretty good. Army doesn't do that. I mean, they don't turn the ball over a lot, but that's a good streak and no turning the ball over.
Well, it's definitely big, and I mean that's Temple's biggest thing this year has been the takeaway game. I think that's their biggest improvement. So to not give them chance, even in the first half where Temple was almost, using the Army game plan against them, I think just, them being able to hold on to the ball has just, made them more almost, like we keep comparing them to the 23 team. That's kind of how the 23 team I remember was towards the end of the year.
Absolutely.
They're definitely building something,
It does feel a lot like that 23 team, just in the sense that, you get off to this shaky start and over time, it starts to come together, even if it's maybe not quite as pretty as you might have hoped.
All right. Well, that about wraps up the game. Let's get into awards. Okay, player of the game. I'm going to go first, and I'm going to kick it to Dan. So I got Cody Harris-Miller. Did not have a huge day in the stat sheet. I believe only 3 tackles, 2 solo. You can just feel his presence, right? Yep. Evan Simon, I would not have guessed that Evan Simon's completion percentage went down in this game, especially with the way that second half went. And yet it did. And I think a huge part of that was rushed throws, pressure on the defensive front. And a lot of that, even though, again, it doesn't show up on the stat sheet, is coming from Cody Harris-Miller's presence back from injury. Army had 1 defended pass this entire game, and yet somehow Evan Simon still had a lower completion percentage than his average on the year. So my player name goes to Mr. KHM. Dan, who do you got?
Hey, fullback Jake Rendina, man. 9 carries, 42 yards, 1 touchdown, almost 5 yards per carry. They're definitely not winning this game without Rendina pushing the pile. We talked about it, but it was just awesome.
Yeah, Bartosh, right, out with an injury.
Yep.
Reed, who knows if he's still injured, what's going on with his effectiveness recently. Needed a fullback to make this happen, and definitely Rendina was the answer. Anyone else have a player of the game?
I do, but I'll reserve it for play of the game.
Okay, play of the game. I already said mine, 4th and 1. We talked about that. Dan, what's yours?
Yeah, it's kind of reductive, but Rendina's 7-yard touchdown run. O-line gets like 3 yards of push. Rendina hits that pile with a full head of steam. Temple defenders go flying, and then he's into the end zone. Plays like that are what won this game. Like the dude looks like a bull out there. It was, as we said, it was so cool.
Yeah. All right, Rob.
Yeah, I'm still going to go with, just Brady Anderson, because now the defenses are checking him down because he's doing such a good job as a wide receiver. So it's creating opportunities for other people. So that tight end pass probably would not have been as effective or as open had they not had the defense, Brady Anderson. I think that, we're starting to see that ball distribution actually works, right? Like, if you get the ball to multiple players in different skill positions, then the defense has to adjust for it, and it creates opportunities underneath.
All right, let's before we get into the game, I want to pose a question to the group. 4th and 2, going into the half, Army's driving, trying to get into field goal range to kick 3. 4th and 2 with 30 seconds, they rush up to the line and they run a play to try to get the first down and end up losing 3 yards. I thought that if you're going to go for it there, I'm fine going for it, right? If you're going to go for it there, it needs to be with less time on the clock. Like, take your time out, figure out your play call, and then make sure that when you finish running the play, there's not enough time for Temple to go back the other way. Like, give yourself 2 shots to get into field goal range. Don't give Temple a chance to score by rushing up to the ball on a rushed play call on 4th and 2. 4th and 2 is pretty long for a rushed play call, in my opinion.
I mean, it was fine. The only thing wrong with it was the execution. Guy missed a block. We're not going to call out, at least I'm not going to call out the guy, but if you watch it back, you can figure out who it is. It's not really that difficult to see. But the guy missed a block and the play got blown up. Like,
I'm not sure. I'm not even sure if that block happens, that they're getting the first down there.
Well, maybe not, but it was dead because, dude didn't come and put a hat.
Yeah, I mean, I think Army had 2 or 3 timeouts. I mean, they had time to figure out a play call to run. Clearly, they had it in their bank for later in the game.
I mean, I would have liked to see them try to roll Helms out and give him an RPO on the edge.
Yeah.
I think that goes back. I think that goes back to what you. Sorry, I think that goes back to them just rushing. I think that's not the fullback you want out there in 4th and short.
Yeah.
If you're going to go for that, you had time. They've proved that in the 2 minute they were really good this year. I don't think there was no reason to rush it, and that was I think the only time they got stopped for a loss in the game, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, that's right. There was. I didn't think they had any negative plays, but that was definitely the only one.
Yeah. Well, and one thing that we've seen too, like, USF has a bruiser of a running quarterback. And what they've started to do is they're given different variations on the brotherly shove. I refuse to call it the tush push. So basically they line up under center and they give you the look as if they're just going to do the regular old quarterback sneak. And then he reverse pivots and runs a sweep, and adding different layers to those, adding different layers to those 4th down plays will be helpful, particularly when you get later in the season, and if there's no time on the clock and you run the ball, if it doesn't get blown up in the backfield, even if it's like a tackle for loss or no gain, you're still burning 10, 15 seconds off the clock and you're not giving the other team an opportunity to put the ball.
And I think it's encouraging to see that they have a play call like the 4th and 1 tight end pass that they can break out. That isn't just always going to be a run. I mean, I can't.
The advantages of that are next time that a team is facing Army 4th and 1, they have to respect a pass a little bit more. And now that O-line gets a little bit more shove because the linebackers need to think for half a second about whether or not, the tight end's going to peel out and Army's going to throw the ball on 4th down. So that will pay dividends later in the season for sure. All right, let's move on to the game.
Oh, hold on. I gotta get you here.
Shall we play a game?
Okay. Army averaged 3.6 yards per carry in this game. That is the second fewest of this season. It's also the second fewest in a win this season, as the Kansas State game was 3.4 yards per carry. Can you name the 3 times in the post Dark Ages triple option era, which I'm defining as Ellerson and Munkin, where Army has averaged fewer than 3 yards per carry and won the game?
Oh, wow. I will take that Missouri Bowl game from a couple years ago.
That is not one of the games. If you give me a second, I believe that was 2021. I will tell you how many yards they averaged.
Because they always struggle in those big time games. You see a lot of carries, but not a lot of games in those.
They averaged 3.8 that game. So another good low guess, but not sub 3.
Sub 3. Wow. Jeez, that's a tough one.
Temple 2017.
Not Temple 2017.
No, I feel like I'm just
I joined the show for a tough trivia question.
2017 Temple was 5.0.
Oh, all right.
All right. We will add a hint. One of these games are in 3 consecutive years. One of these games was known for being Army passing for more than double what they rushed for.
At UTSA at Mikey Stadium.
Wake Forest at Mikey Stadium.
They lost to Wake Forest.
Dan, you and I met at this game.
Oh, the Air Force game in 2022?
2021.
2021.
So
okay.
Air Force 43 carries, 102 yards, 2.37. Yeah. That is the single lowest of the post Dark Ages triple option era in terms of yards per carry. They passed for 214 yards that game, ran for only 102, so 2.37. The other 2 are in the area of 2.6, and one is in 2020, one's in 2022.
In a win. Jeez. I don't know, man. I'm stumped.
So
Sorry.
2020 was the Army-Navy game at Mikey Stadium.
Okay. That makes sense.
15-0. They ran for 134 yards, 53 carries, 2.58. in both of these games, the pass count total was only 28 yards. So in that Air Force game, they threw for 200, which explained some of the offensive capability. In these games, they really didn't pass either, yet Army still put up 15 points in 2020.
Well, we said Army won that game on punting. They had, they had that
special teams, yes, yeah. And picking up, their defense getting a safety, their defense getting a turnover on the 15-yard line, and their defense making a stop in the inside the 1. 2022 Army Navy. Army averaged 2.6, 125 yards on 48 carries, 28 pass yards, and they won that game.
That was a miserable game.
That was definitely overthinking. Those should have been a lot easier once you set them.
Right. It's So that was the overtime game for people who are wondering. The longest run of the day. I'm not sure what it was, but I'm guessing it was the 25-yard run to start overtime. I would imagine. All right, let's move on from the game. We are not doing fact or fiction this week because of the bye. So, Dan, why don't you tell us about our friend Craig?
Friends, this show is sponsored by Craig Oxane. He is a mortgage broker, area sales manager for the Money Store. Craig is a member of the West Point class of 1994, licensed to lend in all 50 states, but based out of Chicago. He is one of the most successful VA lenders in the country. He is going to offer you super competitive rates, give you the best deal he possibly can, and he is also going to give you the best service that he can. And honestly, that's such a big deal because the mortgage process is super confusing. Interest rates move all over the place. You're worrying about a million things besides just the rate on your house, and you'd like to be able to deal with a person you can call on the phone and ask some questions, and not like a random call center, big box bank or mindless website, whatever. And this is how the West Point Network actually functions. Craig is helping us stay in business here at As for Football, and we are helping you get the best deal on a mortgage that we possibly can by introducing you to the very man that you need to meet if you're trying to buy a house. Plus, Craig does not charge lending fees for veterans. It's a gigantic savings, like $1,300. Save yourself that money. It's all good. So, Craig Oxane, area sales manager for the Money Store. His link is on our website. So is Jocelyn's. They both got these little business cards there. You click on them and you will be talking to Craig in a few minutes.
All right. Well, you may have noticed the fourth screen today. We have our friend and Firstie Club member, James Pagano, with us. James, welcome.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm sorry for the technical difficulties to start.
Oh, no. We are glad to have you. So, James, why don't you start out, introduce yourself, and tell us why you're here.
I've been James Pagano. I've been an Army football fan since 2015. My first game ever was a rainy loss to Air Force, and I was hooked ever since. Became a season ticket holder in 2019. An avid sports fan, but I wish I would have found Army sooner in life, being that I'm only in North Jersey. I've just I was in the military right out of high school, and just something about just everything about it. I love supporting it. I love going to the games. I'm getting my son into it now, who's 3. It's just, this weekend I went to the football game, the men's soccer game, and the hockey game. That was
awesome.
Nice.
I love it. It was my son's first hockey game there.
Well, I don't know if your son is like my kids where they take on your energy while you're watching sports, but I've had to watch myself because I will see my young children pumping their fists while watching a TV, and there might not even be sports on, so I've had to reel it back a little bit.
He's still getting there, but I will say when the goal horn went off, he was definitely not used to that.
Has he been to a game in Mikey Stadium yet?
We have not.
Okay.
I'm thinking next year.
Yeah, I am thinking of bringing my young ones to UTSA this year. We'll see. All right, so you're here to talk about the Army Fan Council. Why don't you start out? Tell us what the Fan Council is. How did it start? What does it do? And how do other fans get involved if they have bright ideas?
Well, I know they can always. I know every game they send a survey, and they do a big thing in these, and that he keeps saying that the surveys are important to fill those out. So before the season started, they sent out an email. I guess it was just, I don't know if it was season ticket holders or 8 club members, but just inviting to the fan canceled. You could apply, tell your story, why you would be a good member here. And I don't know how many people applied. It sounds like a decent amount. I believe, I don't have the exact numbers, about 30 of us that got selected all throughout the country. Some season ticket holders for football, some just diehard Army fans. Our first meeting, all the meeting was just introductions, and that's how long it took. These meetings are about an hour long, about 2 of us, and it was cool seeing all these different stories. And you seeing like all these people cheer for Army. Some people that are in the military, some people that were not, some people that currently still are in the military. So the whole point of the fan council and why Army decided to do it, so a few other programs around the country have started doing it. I believe Boise State was one of the first. And it's all about bringing everyone in to improve the overall fan experience for not only the sporting events, but just to get the message of West Point out there and just not around West Point, but just trying to get the whole country to understand Army sports.
Great. And if fans want to get involved, you said there's post-game surveys. Is there anyone else they can talk to?
I believe, the A Club and the season ticket office, or the ticket office in general, you could reach out to. I don't have the gentleman's name. I apologize, who runs it. I know the athletic director was actually on with us last week for our meeting. It was really cool to get to meet him. Obviously, he is, being newer. I don't think a lot of people really know him yet. People were really fans of the old one, but I could tell you, I hearing him talk, I love the image he has.
Yeah, he was great to interview on our show. He is obviously very involved in capital projects and a huge reason why the Mikey Stadium project has been a planning success.
Yeah, so I know one of the big things we're going on in the group right now is like a lot of the group doesn't want the rest of the stadium forgotten. Of course, everything's focused on the newsstands right now. They look great already. It's starting to take shape. But the big thing is just like, don't forget the other 3/4 of the stadium. Mm-hmm. Don't forget the people that are the reason the stadium is able to be built up. And that's a big selling point that they want to make sure they continue to improve the fan experience. They understand that Mikey Stadium, as awesome as the history is, it's very tough because it's older. It was not, I don't think they ever had the idea they would be what it is now. I don't have the exact numbers, but like where Army's point of sales for food is, they are very behind a modern stadium. I know the line crazy.
You have a concrete stadium that was not built with winterization or modern concessions in mind. So, in addition to the Mikey, we talked to Mike Buddy about this and Tom Theodorakis as well, the last and current AD. Originally, part of the plan of the East Stands project was to winterize the rest of the stadium, build some athletics offices in the southeast corner of the south end zone. Some of that, due to rising costs, had to be put off, but there are stage 2, 3, 4 of this preservation project that will include winterization so that Army can do things like host NHL games, athletics offices so that ODIA can get moved from the side of the hill down by the river up to the football stadium where they should be. They can convert those areas into party decks for football games, all those sorts of things. Is there anything else you want to tell us about the football stadium, or Dan or Rob, do you have any other questions?
I can confirm that the winterization is a plan for the next phase after the stands are open. And they want to do more for the fan experience, like you said, more viewing gardens. If you've ever been to Yankee Stadium, they have now the big thing is the beer gardens and things. I believe that's going to be in plans to try to do more like, fan gather areas, which is like a big thing for stadiums now. I think they have a lot of plans.
They do have the Hoffman Center there, and then they do have the lacrosse center on the northeast end zone that they do sell out as a party deck. But if you can increase that, right, if you take your ODIA offices and, you can have party decks on the end zone, that's a great place to sell the classes, so on and so forth. So, well, we appreciate all that info. And if you guys have questions, reach out to us. We can put you in contact with James. And if you guys have comments, questions, or concerns that the AD should hear, don't hesitate to bring them.
Call him directly.
Yeah, actually, yeah. I think his email is available on the Army website. He's going to love us after this.
I do want to say one more thing that he mentioned, that AD mentioned in the last meeting, is that the alcohol sales have been working perfectly and they've had no incidents so far.
Awesome.
Which is a really good
Army
thing to hear.
fans, I
know that was a big concern for people.
I am disappointed. Y'all need to get rowdier. All right. Well, and then lastly, I guess selfishly, you're a member of the Firstie Club. Why don't you tell all of the listeners what they can expect when they join, so that they can hear it from somebody who actually benefits from it?
I mean, I've been supporting. I don't have the exact. I think I've been supporting you guys since 2019 too. I don't have the exact number in front of me.
It's been quite a while. I can confirm.
I know. I remember when we started doing the Facebook message group. I remember doing the virtual tailgates in 2020.
Oh yeah, those were fun. They were fun. I know in the Firstie Club, we're just talking about doing an outing one year if we could do that. I want to do that. I very much want to do that.
I don't regret it at all. It's not a ton of money. I only think twice of it. We just switched to Discord. I think that's been great. I love the interaction. I didn't go to the academy, but so I got I get a lot of insight from everyone in the Firstie Club, and I believe we have a good mix now. I don't think everyone in there was in the academy.
Yeah.
I know that's something I was worried about, that I'd be viewed as as this guy didn't go to the academy. What does he know about Army sports? But you guys welcome me.
You know what? The academy guys pay the same amount, so
yeah, it's a great back and forth. I recommend everyone that if you're supporting or thinking of supporting, you don't regret it. I mean, I love that chat on game days, especially for away games. It's awesome. And it's a good insight. And then, there's so many questions and comments. And I think you guys touch it a little bit on here, but I don't think it's just so much more that we'd discuss and go into just detail about. I mean, even today I looked after work and I was like, oh my God, there's 40 messages in here. And I don't even know what it went off, it was a lot going on.
I will say, from an enjoyment standpoint, this is not a public access Facebook group where you have 80% times the lowest common denominator that you have to filter through in order to get the content you want. It is people that care a lot. So it's definitely an improved game day chat. All right. We ready for the mailbag?
Absolutely.
You've got mail.
All right. Another advantage of being in the Firstie Club is that you get to submit your questions and we will attempt to answer them. Before we get started, Ken last week asked about Navy making a business decision against Notre Dame. They then arrested quarterback Blake Horvath and lost the game at 49-10. So hat tip to Ken. I don't know, who knows what went on. Sounds like he showed up in pads in the stadium and then gave it a go and said no. I don't know how serious any of that was. But that's what ended up happening. They ran not their offense. They ran the Malcolm Perry offense with their backup quarterback and it did not go well.
I think if you read into the box score, I think it tells you what they did. Yeah. They did not. Not only did Horvat not play, they didn't run any of their. They basically didn't touch any of their star players. Barely didn't touch the ball. They knew what they were doing.
All right, let's get into this week's questions. Mike Davis asks, how many 30-plus carry games does Cale Helms have at this point? Where does that stack in most in a single season for a Jeff Monken team? He's got 3 and 6 starts. Ahmad Bradshaw often carried 25 to 30 a game in 2017, but that was way up from the previous year. Quarterback carries have really accelerated in the most recent scheme of blocking rules. So you saw last year, right? Bryson Daly had a 36 carry game against Air Force, and then 36 against North Texas and 38 against Notre Dame. I believe Cale Helms with 41 is now number 2 in the all-time American Conference record. So there was a running back that had 42 carries or 46 carries or something like that. And now Cale Helms stands alone. It's a lot based on what the defense gives up. It's been 41 versus K-State. There you go. That's the Army record and also number 2 in the American. 38 versus Tulane, 36 last week. Only 21 versus UAB in Charlotte, and 26 against Air Force. I think it's up slightly a little bit from last year. I just think it's a matter of, it's a combination of them trying to run the Bryson Daly offense and not quite yet trusting Cal Helms to do crazy things with the ball.
Yeah, I think that's right.
Yeah, so I think it will probably go down in the optimal Cale Helms offense, but that doesn't mean that you shouldn't take what the defense gives you, right? If they're giving you QB powers and you're churning out 3 to 4 yards a carry, do it. And he's gotten better at that as the season has gone on, which is good too.
Yeah, I number 3 quarterback barely got any snaps with the starters over the summer. Takes over at the K-State game and now has only got 6 starts even still. Give my man a chance to develop. They're right. Doing what he's good at.
And add the fact that that your number 1 and number 2 quarterbacks over the summer are running a different style of offense. So not only do you have to give him time to develop, you need to trust the offensive line enough to make the right reads and right blocks so that something doesn't get blown up in the backfield while you're trying to do funny things with it. All right, second question. We'll kick this one to Dan. Do we feel the lack of success going outside is a byproduct of individual speed in the backfield, perimeter blocking, quarterback reads, or play calling, or something else?
I think that the blocking rules matter a lot. It's way harder to block on the outside as a smaller guy in the modern game. So I think that's a huge part of it. But I also think the American Conference teams represent better competition that's now more familiar with Army's offense. You don't get, this team hasn't seen the options in 15 years. These teams see the option every year, either from Army or Navy, and sometimes both.
Yeah, there's that. There's also, I think, a little bit of the play calling. Some of it has to do with the rule changes, and honestly, some of it has to do with I don't think there was much last year. Like we think about a lot of long perimeter runs last year. A lot of those were like Kanye Udo runs that were inside zones that ended up on the sideline and went for 70 yards. I think he had 2 of those against Tulsa. There was a lot of like inside zone that ended up out there, but there wasn't really a lot of perimeter running last year either. So I don't know how much of it is a quarterback thing or a skill thing or a talent thing, and how much is just a scheme thing.
I think a lot of it has to do, I think your strength is your middle of your line. I think it starts with small, and I think that's Army. I think Worley knows that's their bread and butter. It was last year. It still is this year.
That's a great point too, right? Your 2 returning starters are at center and guard, so you're gonna like the ability to stay inside. All right. Does Terry Brandon asks if anyone wants to win the American Conference? That's a great question because JMU has 1 loss and none of the group of 5 teams are currently ranked in the CFP rankings. So somebody's got to get their act together if the American is going to get the G5 spot. I think there are 4 or 5 teams with 1 conference loss. Who is it? It's Navy.
Everybody's got at least 1. Yeah.
Yeah. Navy, Tulane, South Florida, ECU. And North Texas all have 1 loss, and Memphis has 2 losses, and all of them still have a shot.
Yeah.
North Texas, I think, has the easiest shot. The hardest they have left opponent they have left is Temple, whereas Navy's got South Florida and Memphis. South Florida and Memphis have Navy, and then I believe cupcake games. And Tulane, I think, has a fairly easy schedule as well. Although they did drop a random game to UTSA, so who knows? I think the American does a great job at scheduling a lot of these big time games later in the season to generate viewership. But what that means is, like we saw with Army last year, the hardest part of your schedule is going to come in November, and there's going to be a lot of infighting, and the rubber meets the road in November. So you see a lot of cannibalization now that we're towards that part of the schedule.
Yeah, and the only other thing, and this is probably a broader topic for roundtable too, but I suffered through the first CFP selection show, and when they started talking about the group of five leading team, it was Memphis at the time, and that was before they lost. But I think like now in the American, USF is in the driver's seat because they're balancing quality wins and losses now based off of strength of schedule, and because they lost to Miami when Miami was good, they're assessing them a little bit higher than Memphis right now just because of the record. But I think USF is probably in the driver's seat, and quite frankly, I think Navy's going to be 7-5 because they got a murderer's row, and like it doesn't matter how many people they sit, like they're going to get nicked up. They're not going to make it through the end of their schedule, unscathed.
Yeah, I think Navy's got something like an 8% chance to win their next two games. So very, very low. North Texas opened as a 10-point favorite this week. So
I think it's a dark. I think North Texas is going to get the bid. That's just my gut feeling right now.
Well, the problem for North Texas, so North Texas is going to get to the American Championship provided they handle their business. They have the easiest road, but they also got spanked by South Florida when they played them. So, if North Texas shows up in an American Championship game and is just completely outmatched, are you going to have a 2-loss team? Is 2-loss Tulane with a loss to UTSA going to go over a 1-loss JMU?
And that loss is not aging well.
No, not at all. So that will certainly be interesting. All right, let's move on to our favorite things. We have a few of them. I'll let Dan talk about ladies soccer first.
Yeah, Army women's soccer beat Boston University yesterday to win their first Patriot League title since 2011. Super exciting game. The ladies got out to an early 2-0 lead. Then BU came back and scored in the second half to make it 2-1. Army then scored with maybe 10 minutes left to go back up 3-1, and you're thinking, okay, they got this in the bag. And 60 seconds later, BU scored again to make it a 1-goal game. But the Army ladies held them off for the last 9 minutes or so and won the championship. Pretty rad. And Bridget Duffy, man, she was arguably the best player on the field. Every time she got the ball in BU's end, the whole defense collapsed on her, allowing her to set up all 3 of Army's goals with crossers and earning 3 assists.
So Army actually gets a decent slot in the NCAA championship. So the different brackets are ranked 1 through 8 in terms of the top 8 teams in each bracket are seeded. Army gets the 8 seed. So they're going to get a seed because they're a Patriot League, and then some of it's regional and things like that. Army pulls the 8 seed in Penn State. They'll play at Penn State on November 15th, so in 5 days at 5 p.m. Winner of that one gets the winner of Virginia versus High Point. And that game would be on November 20th. So November 15th, mark your schedules. If you're in Pennsylvania near State College, think about going to that game. The other favorite thing is Army sprint football. So we mentioned a few episodes ago that if Army won their division, then they would clinch a spot in the championship game. The rules have changed this year, so we were wrong. There is no championship game for sprint football, CSFL. So how it works is if you win your division and there's another team that wins their division, because it's a round robin, you just look at the head-to-head between the 2 division champs, and the head-to-head winner wins the championship. I don't know why they wouldn't just look at overall record because it's a round robin, but that's the way they decided to go. With that being said, Army and Navy are going into the final week of the season. They're playing each other, and they're both undefeated. So this is now the de facto national championship game. It's at Army. It's supposed to be at Shea Stadium on Saturday night. It's a bye week. So if you're an Army season ticket holder like James and you got nothing to do on Saturday, head on up and watch Army Sprint take on Navy for the national championship. We got anything else?
It's Saturday, not Friday?
Yeah, it's Saturday.
It should be Saturday, yeah.
Interesting. All right.
Yeah. Anything else, gents?
No, thank you very much. That was awesome.
Beat Navy.
Beat 'em.